Hello and welcome to a new episode of Adobe Creative Cloud TV. My name is Terry White and we're on day 4 of my 7 days of creative or mobile workflows for creatives. So we started off on day 1 with Lightroom Mobile. Day 2 we did Photoshop Mix into Photoshop, and day 3 we did Adobe Color yesterday. So this is day 4 where we're going to take a look at Adobe Brush CC on iPhone. Now it's an iPad and iPhone app, but since I did the first 3 days on iPad, I figure it's time for a change. Let's switch up and do this one on iPhone. And also the brush we're going to create is one that we're going to be using either tomorrow or the next day. And you're probably going to say, well, where'd the brush come from? And now you're going to know where the brush came from because we're going to do it first. So with that said, I have my iPhone 6 Plus here, and I'm in my Adobe folder of apps. And you can see that there's an icon in the middle called Adobe Brush. So I'm going to go ahead and tap Adobe Brush and launch it. And of course, it shows me some of the brushes I've created thus far. You can create a signature brush, even like the one down at the bottom, so you can just stamp your signature with a brush. So I want to go ahead and create a new brush. And the way this works is when you tap the plus sign at the bottom, it says, well, what do you want to use as an image? You can use the camera, which is great having it on the iPhone, because I'm always out and about snapping pictures of things and being able to use that content later on, as we used earlier with Lightroom Mobile and the photos. So same thing here, where I've got the ability to use the camera or what's already on the camera roll to create brushes from. Now, I did snap a picture earlier, and I wasn't sure what device I was going to do this on, so I put it in the Creative Cloud folder. That way I would have access to it on any device. And of course, I can also grab things from the new Creative Cloud Market. So I'm going to go ahead and say Creative Cloud folder. And in my demo folder, you're going to laugh at this, but there's a picture of a pickle or pickles. I was at a restaurant, saw this poster right next to me, pulled out my phone, thinking, weeks ahead, and said, that would make a great brush. And you're thinking, how is this going to make a brush? Trust me, I know how the app works. This will make a great brush. So that's the image I want. Yes, open it, pull it down from Creative Cloud, and pull it into Adobe Brush CC. Now, I can make 3 different types of brushes in the app today. I can either make a brush for sketch, which, as you can see, brings into full fidelity the color of the image. I can space it apart. I can do all that for sketch. I can make a Photoshop brush, which again will, depending on how I set the settings, will stagger it or stretch it in Photoshop as a monochrome brush, like all the other brushes in Photoshop. Or I can make it a brush that works in a vector application like Adobe Illustrator. So with that said, I want an Illustrator brush. And of course, I don't want all of the pickle. I don't want, or at least all of the picture. I do want all of the pickles. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull this over. And for those of you who know me, I don't even really like pickles, but this will make a good brush. Next thing I want to do is we're going to crop it from the top and bottom here. So I'm just going to pull up this little flag here. We can reposition the pickle up at the top and then bring it in right there. So now there's some things on the sides or the corners that aren't easily cropped out. So that's where we go to refine, which is the next button. And that gives me like an eraser by default. And I can just erase that stuff out of the photo that's around the image that I don't need. So just go to all 4 corners, get any stray marks or things around the image, and that way I'm only using what's in that cropped area, checkerboard pattern, as my brush. So the next thing I want to do is go to, and of course I can control with the slider the contrast of the brush as well. The next thing I want to do, and you can start to see the brush up at top, and you're saying, it doesn't really look that good. Just wait for it. Let's go to properties. Here's where it gets fun. Because you're right, it doesn't look that good at that size. But what I saw was kind of the way the contrast was working with that image. I knew that if I made it smaller, I'd get a pretty cool, thick and thin outline brush, which would be great for creating my own custom type in Illustrator, just with my hand, just drawing things. So giving me that brush, starting with a picture of a pickle or pickles, and being able to then convert it using my iPhone into a brush that I can now save. And that brush will sync, we'll skip the feedback part, that brush will sync to Creative Cloud libraries. And if we give it a second here, Once it's done syncing, that brush will appear, and there it is actually, appearing here as the pickle brush in Illustrator. And of course, it's not grayed out because it's a vector brush, or it's an Illustrator brush. So now the other brushes that are grayed out are either Sketch or Photoshop brushes, but this one's available to me. So if I create a new document, open an existing document, grab the brush tool, I can start brushing with my new brush that I created from my phone using the free application Adobe Brush CC. So with that said, that's day 4 of my 7 days, 3 days left, and we're going to start putting this all together, probably starting tomorrow. We got one more piece of collateral to collect, and then we'll start building this out so you can start to see how this all falls together. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you tomorrow.